Adversity, bring it. The struggle, we welcome it. Snooze on life, never that. We are Dave Regina and Mike Pirelli, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Welcome back. No Snooze Podcast, episode 102. We're climbing up there, kid. I am here with the best three in the game. We have Michael, the show Pirelli, Claudio, the voice Valenzuela, and I am Dave, the body, catch me on a float, Regina. Right?
You looked
Michael, your microphone is 7
so far.
Yo, your microphone, Mike, is 5 feet away
well,
from
first
you.
off, I do the wave every time
Yes,
when you say the show, and I didn't realize it wasn't on camera. Now I can see how he cuts me out. You looked as comfortable on that float as you do in Puerto Rico.
Yes. Well, listen, man.
I thought you were in Puerto Rico. I thought you floated all the way to Puerto Rico.
I just think there's an extreme benefit. We're very grateful to be able to be on the lake the way that we are. And that was the first time. We always go down to the beach and stuff, and I'll always smoke a cigar in the dock and chill out. But what I did for the first time since I've been there is I got on this little float that I bought from like Amazon.
That float was
but
impressive.
I just floated away.
That should have been a commercial for air because that thing was pushing you out of the water like barely.
Dude, but I just sat there for 2 hours. The next thing, though, but I didn't have my phone. I didn't have anything. I had 2 Trulies in the thing. 2
Those
drinks.
were your paddles?
Yeah, two things. Then I went away and I came back 2 hours later and everybody's like, "Where were you?" I'm like, "I was floating." My sister-in-law's boyfriend was with me too on a different float, so he kind of floated away with me too.
Nice.
It was great. I might have to become a floater.
Lazy river's like the best. Any type of lazy river floating around.
Yes.
It's a little, we were talking about before we start recording, but it's a little boring for me. But I guess if you have Trulies in hand, it's pretty great.
Well, it's just when your life is
you're floating away from the kid too, which is amazing.
Exactly.
So they can't reach you.
But your life is crazy, so it's like the one time you get to just relax and chill out.
So we used to go to a lazy river trip every year with the crew, pre-babies, pre all the chaos. And there was this one guy, I think he had 3 kids, and he was infamous for passing out on the float and just floating away. And now I understand it.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, the guy was playing chess.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm serious. And I'm going to literally look on Amazon. I got to talk to CV
Get
over
like a
here. He's
custom
usually the
float.
gadget guy. Get a flotation device for my phone, maybe a floating table, maybe a floating cooler, and I'll just float away.
I think you get a little motor.
Right. I'm telling you, dude, it was bizarre. But, I mean, in other news, my drunk muscles kicked in. And somebody was running their mouth.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and they were like, "Listen, there's a park across the street. Like, I heard you used to hoop back in the day, blah, blah, blah." That didn't go over well. So I started talking back. And I'm like, we could go outside right now. Like, it's not going to be a thing. So sure enough, I'm cooking now. I'm doing my thing. I'm in a Larry Bird jersey.
Let's drop a name.
Marwan. So that's Thalia, my sister-in-law's boyfriend.
Oh, yes.
Great dude. We're super tight. Like, super cool.
They've been dating for a while, right?
Yeah, they've been dating for a couple of years. Yeah, great guy. And, so he's running his mouth. He's like, "Yo, I've been hearing, you're kind of good at ball, but like I see you kind of wash." Like, and I'm like, "Dude, I wash you. I know that."
Well, first off, I love it that he's coming hard at you.
Right.
What makes you look washed? I'd be like, was the grays in the beard? Like what?
Well, that's what I.
Well, you also don't look nimble. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Claudia?
I don't look the way that I can.
Correct.
Play.
When you were skinny, when you had your issues, you looked like you played hoop.
Right.
Now you look like you might be the guy who trains the dudes that play hoop.
Okay, that maybe that's what he was thinking.
But when you get on the court and you jump, I'm always confused. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like,
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. So,
the calves are small. All right, go ahead.
So we get there, and we're kind of, we had a couple.
Sounds
By
like a
couple,
good idea.
I want to say, we were probably 9 deep by then.
Christ.
Because there was only like 30 minutes left with sunlight still out. It was already like 7:30 at night.
Terrible conditions.
Right?
Can barely see,
that's what I'm saying.
drunk.
Right. But he's like, "Yo, the park is right there if you want to go." Like, and I'm like, "Dude, stop. Like, don't do this."
Again, also very smart. He's coming at you while you're
Exactly.
That's genius.
So, we get down there and he's like, "All right, let's play around the world with a bunch of people." So he plays around the world. He gets a little hot. He makes it around the world before I made it around the world. So now he's got his confidence
Around
up.
the world. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't
5?
know. Exactly. So then he gets his confidence up and he's like, "Let's do 21." In my head, I'm like, "All right, we're not going to be playing 21. It's going to be me versus you." But
one-on-one?
What?
1-on-1, 21?
No, like 21 with like people, you know? There was like 4 people.
Oh.
So then the guy, they already knew what time it was because he got the ball. He's like, jab stepping, like trying to go hard, right? And I'm like, all right, now I got to guard you, right? So we ended up basically playing 1-on-1. I'm cooking now. Now I'm hitting every shot. I think I got all the way to 17 before anybody got to like 3, right? So then, I start getting, a little cocky. I'm like, rim touch, like almost dunk on you type thing.
Rim touch.
Yeah, just light, And then there was one play where literally I go to hit 21 and I was like on the top of the key. I go left, I go right between my legs, hit the jump shot, land, my calf. I'm like, so I had to limp off. And technically I didn't even win because in 21 you have to hit the 21 plus the shot. And we were shooting from half court. Mm-hmm. So I literally stepped up to try to even chuck it, and I couldn't do it. And I had to stop playing.
Come on. Kobe would have done it.
He blew out his Achilles and hit 2 free throws.
Even worse.
Right. So long story short,
had a Kobe story.
Great performance on my end, but
blown calf.
Just blew my calf. And mind you, I'm in some Gucci drivers. Like,
I was gonna ask.
Like you couldn't have been in worse attire.
Time out. Who wears Gucci drivers to the beach?
I wasn't a beach. No, it wasn't. It was his house.
But you were at the pool, I thought. Or
No.
lake.
No. That was a different day. Separate day.
Different.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're floating around for 2 hours with your Gucci loafers on.
No.
You roll out of there.
that was different day. Different day.
That's fun. I mean, 21's a great game.
It is good, but come on, man. I got to be better. I got to know, like, dude, shut your mouth. That's what I have to do.
Those calves, though, if they're not going to hold up in prime time, what are they good for?
Well, I had done legs because Ambrosio has me on 2 leg days a week, and I'm jump roping every day in between my sets, just trying to make sure that I had that extra cardio. Yeah. Well, you should probably try a rope next time.
Dude, I'm tough. I'm inching towards that 10. I don't know if you see the turtle, but I'm on my way.
I see you, kid. I see you. So that was my story of the weekend. And I had to basically gimp around for 2 days, and finally it's starting to get a little bit better. But besides that, the kid weighed in. Another successful weigh-in. I just wanted to see, could I have maintained the under 8% like we spoke about? I didn't want to get Ambrose on this podcast and blow up to 17%. That
would have been good.
Or 15.9%. We'll talk about that.
Just him upset with you the whole time. That would have been great.
So I secured my my weigh-in at 7.7%.
So here I got a question, right?
Because
I weigh in, right? Every week I weigh in.
I say, I weigh in.
And you look at the stats, and the littlest thing can throw it off so much.
Yes.
So are you nervous that, like, I didn't get hydrated? Or is it just you're so dialed in, you're like, I'm hydrated, I know what's what? Or do you have that nervousness when you
I won't weigh in unless I've done everything that I know that I've succeeded with in the past. So like if I drank a bunch of alcohol,
skip it?
Yeah, like you know what I mean?
I'm stupid. I'm just like, I'm gonna hope for the best.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I just I did it that one time intentionally because I wanted to see where I was at. And I was pretty upset about it because I remember I was like 10% probably or something.
Screaming at people.
Yeah, and I was trying to be in a downward trend. So I know what I have to do to put myself in the best scenario. Yeah. So I try to make sure that for a couple days at least leading up to it, I'm pretty solid.
Okay. It's so interesting because getting down that low, something can throw it off by 1%.
Yes.
If you don't do something or so, I don't know, the weigh-in's a little fugazi. Yes. It throws it off.
I do have I have some knowledge, but I don't really know the knowledge. I told him not to tell me. So this guy, he comes over to me, right? He's a trainer in the gym, and he's like, I see your stats. You're crushing it, dude.
I see your stats. Do you post up your stats in the gym for everyone?
I put it on probably on Instagram or something. Right?
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, 21,000 followers.
See, I have a weird disconnect where people are like, "Oh, I see blah blah blah." And I'm
like,
well, you watch?
Right.
And then you realize we put out so much stuff.
Exactly. And then there'll be one story that you get 200 people looking at, and then you get another one where you have 5,000 people looking at. So you just never know. It's just weird, the algorithm, right? So, he comes over and he's like, you want to get down to 4%? And I'm like, not really. Like,
what a pickup line.
And he's like, no. You could look like that.
Give him my number.
He's like, you could look like that and get to 4% right now. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Give me the deets.
He's like, I could cheat that skill. I said, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Well, I would.
So I don't know, but I don't know. What would you do?
Water. I think you just load up on water.
He's like, come to the water fountain real quick.
No, seriously. I think because what I was seeing was when I was dehydrated by 3 pounds, it's not fat. And it's not muscle.
But you think it would decrease the body fat?
Yes,
being
because
hydrated?
percentage-wise.
So you think water does it? So because it's not fat.
So say I'm 215 and I have 35 pounds of fat, which is probably accurate. So the delta, the percentage is whatever. if you add 3 pounds of just water and hydration, that's in your muscles. That's not fat, so it counts towards.
For that, you might as well hold a brick. Like if I hold a 4-pound brick and it's just straight muscle,
well,
my muscle might increase by 4 pounds and my body fat.
Yeah, I mean, but that's part of the hydration's part of it, because if the more muscle you have, the more hydration you can hold on to. So that's when I text you, I'm like, I think I need to be hydrated.
Gotcha.
And this was Fugazi because I was dehydrated.
Yeah, he told me. So he basically said, listen, but
I don't know.
He has this personal thing, and he's like, anybody, I can always skew at 3%. I was like, that's a lot.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Dude, let me get down to 13. Hit your
right,
boy up.
right. That's what I'm saying. So I didn't want to know because I'm like, I don't want to know that.
But so I also was looking at your muscle. You have like 20-something more pounds of muscle. I need that. That probably makes it.
Need that.
I mean, the word's not easier, but efficiency-wise, your body burns so efficient.
Yeah.
That's why you can stay. When you get to the 7, it's.
Well, that's how I can even have like a little muffin over here.
Yeah.
I got this little fupa area.
Because you have all that muscle.
I get right, and I think I'm stacked in other places.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I'm really focusing on the legs this time around, because I can hold more muscle, I think, in the legs because I'm so bad there that I don't know how much more I can add to my chest. I mean, I can, but they're so deficient that I think I'll have an easy up cycle with the shoulders and the legs.
It sounds so funny the way you describe yourself.
Yeah. I know. I'm very.
I think to date you've said your shoulders are terrible.
They are, but I'm very honest with myself because, like, I'm delusional about other things and like mindset and stuff. So when it comes to like just look, I'm treating my body as just this vehicle thing that I'm just trying to figure out. Which makes it a little more of science versus like emotion. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, I got you.
I'm trying to remove my brain from my body.
You're trying to be as realistic as possible.
And I also, hang around with all these bodybuilders. So they talk about their bodies like they're sculpting. So I have to say, I have fell back in love with lifting heavy and like progressing in the gym. I remember getting addicted to it when I was first starting out and just seeing like even 5 pounds a week.
Yes.
Just being like, oh man, like that was easier this time. You feel like a superhero.
Right.
Like I know it's like I'm doing less than 2 plates on squat. For me, I feel like I'm an animal.
Yeah, but that's good. Weight doesn't matter.
But I'm weighing it against what I used to do.
Yeah.
And yes, I got a belt because I'm not trying to get hurt. I'm trying to stay in the game.
The wrist wraps kill me too.
I don't really use those. Those are just for show.
Just for show.
Yeah.
Michael, the show.
The show, literally. No, I've enjoyed it. As you saw, I had to have a good weigh-in. I had a bad one the night before. I'm realizing there's never going to be a ideal circumstance, and when I do get one of those, I got to take full advantage.
Yes.
Make sure I hit the scale.
So you're under 16 now.
Under 16 with no sleep the night before.
No snooze.
I was still down 3 pounds of water. So if my theory is correct, and I was dehydrated again because of lack of sleep and hydration, Manny, my guy, he's very like cut or dry with me. He's like, no, you retain less water when you have more muscle, less fat. And I'm like, Manny, give me something. Like, give me some encouragement. He's like, I'm just telling you, dude, you got to step it up. Like, he's very tough on me. But in my head, I'm like, if I just am more hydrated, I'm close. I'm at a level in the past where I fell apart because I was ran over by the stress of work. And this year, I'm more busy than I was last year, but I'm getting my workouts in. And yes, some aren't great, but I'm getting at least my core movements and improving each week on those.
Yes.
So that plus the diet and discovering chicken thighs, which are the best things ever.
Your mom made phenomenal ones.
Right? So my dad's kind of a genius. He, how picky he is. He basically told my mom, he's like, whenever you make chicken, it has to be thighs because everything else is dry.
Right. Yeah, no,
I had them there, and I looked at the calories and everything. I'm like, for 30 extra calories.
Oh, it's worth it.
Infinitely better. So now I marinate with Greek yogurt, which is all basically protein, and sriracha. And I realized 90% of the flavor is just letting it marinate for a couple days. So I will freshly air fry it out of the marinade until it's done. And it's been real nice. And then I have my rice and my potatoes, and it's just super simple. And then spinach is the greens, and then I have a green drink.
Locked in.
I don't know about
locked and loaded.
But then I have a food day where I shoot and I eat like an animal.
A food show, 3 bakeries.
But if I can limit to one day of eating like that, I've been able to figure it out.
That's awesome.
But it's getting close.
I know.
We're in June.
Crunch time. I think
June,
CB and I
July, August.
We're still sitting pretty. It's yeah. June, July, August.
2 months.
Okay, all right.
So I got 5% maybe in 2 months.
That's doable, but you got to lock in.
I just got to keep that baby in Dana until like the end of August, and I got a shot.
And then you got a shot. CV, talk to us.
The invisible man.
Yeah, you're right. Like my man is. I wish there was a cam. Can we have a camera on you now? Can we do that?
If you turn yours on, and I can always put that in.
Oh, really? Should we do it?
No.
No? All right.
That's up to you. Doesn't
He
matter.
likes to be the voice.
So, the weigh-ins, not good.
Not good?
No, not good. So, but I'm going to take, I think I heard something a few minutes ago that is very valuable.
Did I say it?
No, unfortunately not this time. If things are not looking right, why weigh yourself? It's pointless almost, right? Because you're just setting yourself up for, because at the end of the day, I do feel great. I'm still working out. I'm still doing the thing. I'm still eating relatively okay, but there are some downfalls, obviously, with the holidays and other, weekends and things like
Wait,
that.
it's not Christmas.
Every weekend's a holiday,
yeah.
especially in the summertime.
Right. I know the barbecues are killer. these days.
Barbecues, alcoholic beverages.
I'm gonna start bringing my own
Summer
thighs.
22 is going to be a movie. I could just tell already. Like everybody's excited, like kind of back from COVID living.
First summer back.
Summer 22.
All out. Project
I'm
X.
outside.
Right. So that's it. I mean, I feel good, and the scale doesn't say the same, but it's not bad. It's just kind of it's even, I guess. It's
okay.
It's been staying pretty even. So that's my update for.
All right. I got a challenge for you now because
negative, no challenges.
This is week 2, which is fine. Week 2.
We have to finish our bet with Mike first, and then we can.
Week
accept
2
challenges.
though, no progress.
Multitasking, baby.
No progress in terms of numbers, right?
What?
For CV. So my rule would be like, all right, now you have to find a way, because there was things that we spoke about even on the last episode that that you could be dialing in a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, actually, that kind of started. So I
So
thought
the
I started
next
last
one-
week. It clearly was not. But this week, like even and it's really the exercise portion has been kind of pretty consistent. So it's really on the eating, and that I kind of chopped down, like back to like kind of the beginning days when I kind of started this whole process. So I was actually starving last night.
Next update.
Did not cheat.
We need progress.
Isn't that nice
my
when you
rule.
get that extreme situation and in the past you're like, I definitely would have went to Wendy's, and instead you're like, I'm snacking on some fucking chicken thighs. It's a great feeling. The control.
We're different. We're so different.
No,
We're
do
so
you
different.
get what I'm saying? Like the
No, I do.
control,
I definitely understand.
Like when you're starving, right? So for example, I was at a listing appointment yesterday. I was there from 10 a.m. until 5:30. All my stuff was at my office like an idiot because I thought I was gonna be able to sneak back. So at the end of the day, I was like, all right, what's the options here? Friggin' Wendy's is calling Michael, stop
Hey,
by.
Michael.
Right? I'm dying. I'm sweating. I'm like fatigued. I'm like, I got so much protein I got to get in before the end of the day.
Wendy's is Dave, right?
I stopped.
Is the
Wendy's
owner
is
Dave?
Dave,
You
yeah.
see what I'm saying? The owner's Dave.
So I stopped
I'm in your head, kid, you know?
I stopped at Stop and Shop, and I literally bought all the proteins. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm very realistic. I don't have time to cook these chicken thighs tonight, but I'll get them for tomorrow, and I'll get a nice steak. I'll reward myself for picking the right thing, because out of all the protein I have, steak is the most expensive, but the most one I enjoy.
Delicious. I mean,
Yeah.
Who doesn't like a steak and a bag of salad?
But it's these little mental games that you play with yourself and you figure yourself out, and then you feel like you dominated your stressed self.
Yes. It's so funny now, too, because Callie, right, we put everything on her plate. She eats. And now she's like,
She's
steak
so
and
cute.
salad. Steak and salad. And she just eats my steak and salad. It's so Karina's always like, okay, you are your father.
Yeah.
You are your father.
Isn't it the best?
It's so funny.
You know what I started doing?
What?
So the snacking would happen always at night, right? And what I started doing is that at night now, if I get hungry, and it's weird because I get like either a sweet tooth or a salty tooth, and it's like weird because it's just cravings. So what I started doing is if I get hungry at night, which I try not to eat too late at night, instead of getting a bad snack, or I shouldn't say bad, but a better choice is like an omelet, like an egg white omelet, because that way I can, one, it's more filling. 2, it's a whole lot less calories than pounding a bag of chips or 2 bags of chips or ice cream, cookies.
4 bags.
You guys are real full-blown fat boys.
Yeah, dude, I am the
And that
fattest
is
boy.
delicious, man. Especially if you're watching like
Yo.
a show or something, or the game.
Oh, it's the best.
I need some chips, man.
Yeah,
Some
you guys
chips
are funny, man. No, that's good. Good move.
The process stuff too, I'm understanding. Like, probably not the best move. Like, I'll have a chicharrone every once in a while. The substitutes have been big for me, CV, where I used to do a bag of popcorn, which was like 160 calories, but for some reason I just didn't feel good in the mornings if I had it like a little later. So now if I have to have something, I'll have a bag of chicharrones, which is it's maybe
I don't like the
more,
way you're saying that. Chicharrones.
how are you supposed to say it?
Chicharron.
All right, with that, whatever that is, pork rinds, right?
right.
So
Chicharrones.
I'll do that.
It sound like an Italian.
Well, everything I'm adding has protein in it now versus before there's wasted calories that I'm like, But I'm not dropping my calories extremely low and still seeing progress. So I know I have a little more I can dial in.
Get the wiggle.
Yeah, I got a little more wiggle.
Yep.
But in a perfect world, I'd love to be still eating 2,000 calories at the end of this and then at 10 because then I can maintain it.
You can. I'm still at 2,500.
Yeah, it's tough staying dialed in when as the weather's been changing and you're spending more time outside and the barbecues and
don't allow outside circumstances to change your truth of what you want.
It was a long winter.
Yes, your own personal truth. If you truly want
to be more stubborn than your circumstances.
I like that
too,
but I'm talking about personal truth. Like if you truly,
yes,
it's a beautiful one.
Beautiful.
My point saying the truth is if you truly believe that that's what you want this, fitness goal or any goal that you want in your life, your truth has to mean more to you than your outside circumstances.
No, that's cool. I mean, that makes all the sense in the world. But what happens, you still have to enjoy a little bit of life, right? So, and not that I intended this way, but if the weekends come around,
but do you think? Let me ask you. Can I ask you this? Both of you guys know me well. Do you think that I don't enjoy my life?
I think
you're so far ahead though that even when you do cheat, I think your body reacts
I'm asking
much
a
better.
question. I don't need a justification.
No, yeah, you do.
Those cigars are telling me 0 calories.
zero calorie cigars. But we would agree that
I'm not saying you can't enjoy it. That was a CV comment.
Right. It's definitely a misconception.
But you have to learn how to enjoy different things.
Yes.
Sorry,
I agree with that.
I threw him under the bus.
I agree with that.
Big time.
I agree with that, but I still have my pizza. Like I still have, my little sushi.
Sushi. The magic is though when you are what's the word? Are you when you're disciplined enough and organized enough on one end, you could be even more lenient on another end, which makes no sense because the dichotomy of the more disciplined you are, the more freedom you have, which your boy Jocko says, and I'm like, yeah, why is everything work that way?
Yeah,
the more scheduled out you are, the more free time you have.
Yes,
what?
Correct.
When you string together a few bad days,
it's tough. It's momentum.
Like this weekend, it was particularly
but
bad.
you were stringing them together.
Do you know what your triggers are?
Of course, it's me. Of course,
I'm learning my
think about it.
It's
it's a long weekend, right? And you're gonna have a shindig on one day. I'm not saying justification. I'm just saying it happens.
And because you allow it, right? So what you should.
What am I gonna do? Not just sit in the corner and just pretend, drink water and have lettuce.
But that's the problem. Is that the view that you have? You think that it's so extreme, and it doesn't have to be that way at all.
So I'm somewhere in between, right? I totally get what you're saying, but I see how you got to progress to that. I'm not there yet, but what we're dealing with is still figuring out the tricks to get through stuff like that. For example, you go to a nice cookout, the only option is pizza, right? And then you're like, what am I not going to eat?
But what you should have done
the pizza's not the problem. No. Having 10 slices of pizza is the problem.
But that's a trigger, right? Okay, so if that's a trigger, then
if you know that,
this is for me, right, TV? So for me, a trigger is like if we went to a birthday party and there's pizza, I'm like, I could have one, but I can't have one, right? I know for me, if I have one, I'm having 7.
No, you should definitely have a bunch. Don't worry about that.
So
keep going.
But I'm figuring
enjoy life, my man.
So I'm figuring out the triggers. I mean, triggers is an intense word, but things that I don't want to depend on my willpower on the weekends.
Right.
So rather than go into and be upset with myself for pounding 7 slices of pizza, either you say, all right, I'm cheating and I'm having my 7, or I'm not having any. So it's like,
but so can I tell you my mindset on this, right?
Yeah.
Because I deal with the same stuff, and when I go out, I eat.
Well, he eats 10 slices of pizza.
Right. If I want to do that, I'll do that. Yeah. But when I'm super locked in and I have to get down to this goal, there were many times that I had to do exactly what you're talking about, right? But I was like, you know what? I'm definitely going to drink and I'm definitely going to eat. But I'm going to work out in the morning, and then right before I go,
compliments.
I am going to either have a shake, right? Have a meal, and literally chug 30 ounces of water.
Fill yourself up, kind of.
Right. And not in a disgusting way, but so now I'm already going to a place full. When I go to the supermarket, or as Callie says, the shoe market, I literally, I can't go there hungry, because if I go there hungry, I'm leaving with 7 salams. Just going crazy. You can't do it.
But he's dealing with new tricks every time, because this is new ground.
Yes, I get it.
And I'm hitting new ground too, right? So when I'm getting down to this level, there's things that I have to start cutting out, like popcorn. Trigger for me for popcorn. If I have popcorn, I want chocolate after.
Ooh,
right? It's like a momentum thing. And if I'm like, I got Halo Tops, not terrible, I'll eat the pint. Then it becomes 500 calories of I didn't really need it, but I broke the ice with popcorn. So there's all these little things that I'm cutting out. You don't have to do it right away, but I'm acknowledging I can F up, But then in my head, I'd be like, I see what
my
happened.
weakness is peanut butter these days.
Yeah, so you probably avoid peanut
melted peanut butter too.
butter. Take it easy.
No, literally.
Getting central.
It's
melted.
ridiculous. Melted peanut
You
butter.
don't know how
I've
to
never
make
had that.
butter.
That
What?
sounds delicious.
Oh, take a scoop, put it in your little cup thing, 30 seconds in the microwave, spin it around a little bit, drizzle it over even some fruit, some strawberries or something.
Yeah.
It's nice.
I mean, this is obviously, new challenges for sure, because obviously, I've been pretty regimented for, the last few months or whatever. And this is new challenges, right? New weekends,
Stresses,
stresses, all that stuff.
It's not-
So it's part of the readjusting, part of the figuring myself out,
Yep.
part of the being able to kind of, get
Correct.
hit, get back up. keep
my
going.
only thing with individuals like that are saying that, you now know. You know what you have to do.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
But it
Like,
takes time to implement it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And you can make mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
But literally the little simple fix that I just gave you, if you don't do that this weekend before you go to some big thing and you're going to have this astronomical blowout, then you don't really want it enough. You know what I'm saying? Like it depends on your
it's also practice,
desire.
right? Like I could be getting prepared to go to like a cookout and have all this set up in my head, this and that, and then something goes
Life
awry.
happens.
Yeah, life happens, which it does all the time. And then you have a little bit of success. For example, I got the workout in, I had the shake, but I did have 7 slices of pizza. So you're like, all right, I got the 40% in the beginning, but I've effed up the 60.
Yeah.
All right, so next time, what do I have to do? Maybe I bring like a protein bar in my pocket, so then at least I have a little. You know what I mean? Like
the pocket protein.
But I find myself now in situations where the biggest thing for me is when I don't have anything available food wise, and I have to like just fast through it.
Mm-hmm.
Which a trick is like I'll have a coffee, which will kill my hunger, give me
Yep.
something to sip on. I'll put a little creamer in there just to have a little something. Gum's been a good one. Like
Mhm.
if I have a crazy day, I'm in the car, just hammering gum makes me feel like I'm snacking on something when
Yep.
I'm really not.
I think you're spot on.
But you don't know until you get into that situation because you haven't been in that.
Right.
Like there has been in the past where I'm like, I'm trying to get to 10%. So I mean, I have done it, but in different circumstances. And there's no protein around. What do? All right. Well, can I wait until 8:00? Like maybe you could try it. It's
Yeah.
a willpower thing. Should I snack on something small that I know I'm not going to It's hard. It's like,
I get it.
but every time you go through it, the next time you're prepared for it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it gets easier. I'll definitely agree with that. All right, next week we literally have Ambrose coming on, so it's going to be all
I'm
about
excited to see
health and wellness. I want to transition a little bit over to work. I'd be foolish to not mention kind of what's going on, and we always go through adversities in life in general, and we always speak about that. But I shared a couple months ago, maybe now. Excuse me. Sorry, I have this. I think it's an allergy.
Everyone, yeah.
But no, it's crazy because
Can't
then
clear
you
your throat.
you walk around, and then you cough and everyone's like, looking at you all crazy. But anyway, I shared this individual that I've known for 25 years that I've been fortunate to work with over the past 8 years now, and that he was sick and he was diagnosed with the cancer, and basically I just recently 2 weeks ago had to sign an executive order to the state of New York to retire him because he was pretty much refusing to retire. Now, when you're in local municipal government like we are, if you pass away on the job, your family only receives 3 years of the actual salary. Whereas if you retire, your family gets the pension for the entire life,
Wow.
which is a big difference.
Yeah, it's huge.
Right. And listen, my man is the most prideful man in the world. So he was like, no, I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. It was looking to the point that, I was even telling the staff, like, this is what I have to do. And it was very uncomfortable. He was very upset with me. I get a notification from the state, literally, I guess it was, I don't know, a week now, to where the state has accepted the retirement, right? Do you know 3 hours later, this man passed away?
Oh my God. That's wild.
But how crazy is that?
That's so sad.
God is always in control.
That's
you
wild.
And it's a traumatic experience, just even for the staff alone, man. Like, forget me. Yes, I've known him for 25 years, but
What did he have?
he had it was prostate cancer.
Jeez.
And the unfortunate thing about it is his father had that same cancer and lived for 25 plus years.
Mhm.
So when he did get diagnosed, it happened to be basically when his father died, he actually got diagnosed. The stages were, it was very early. But then it just kept like taking this crazy turn, and he continued to work through this whole thing, which was unbelievable. His resilience, his strength, truly unmatched. But it was just a story, man. Like, you have to be very conscious of your whereabouts in terms of where your investments are and things like that, and things need to be aligned. The beneficiaries were not in check, so there was a lot of changes that needed to be made very last minute, and thank God that we were able to do so for his family before he ended up passing away.
Nice.
So, rest in peace to a very good dude. But this is one of the most challenging experiences for me, dealing with what I'm dealing with in terms of my own feelings and emotions, and then trying to be a source of inspirational leadership for the team that's obviously mourning a significant loss. And we got to lead the services and all that type of stuff. So I don't know. Just wanted to share it though, because there's things that we don't share on here intentionally, but that's something that I think is a significant piece of my mindset right now. It's taken a lot of real estate in my brain. No pun intended to Mike Pirelli going to real estate.
I love the puns.
But so that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, it's fun. It's interesting you mentioned something like that, because for whatever reason I've been diving into like Kobe's life, because it's so interesting to me, and it's always. It's interesting because he put it all out there, and he worked his work ethic is legendary. And it makes you think like maybe he knew he wasn't, like, something was going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I always joke with Dana, and I'm like, I don't know how long I'll be here. Like, that's why I'm always frantic and working hard and like running around, because who knows? I mean, and I'm very realistic about that. But when I think about him, I'm like, maybe it was a higher situation that was pushing him, and he didn't know why, but he was embracing it. So then I got worried. I'm like,
I get you. I get what you're saying. So
you know what I mean? Like,
you're saying his work ethic could have been the way it was because he had this feeling that you don't know it could end tomorrow.
Yes.
So I'm going to continue to
because
just do
for whatever reason, maybe there was some type of like.
Wow, you never thought about it like that.
Yeah. So then I started thinking about stuff, and then I start thinking like really, not dark, but I start thinking like, if something did happen to me next year, like what would I have wanted to do? And that's something I've been thinking about, because it's a terrible time to be thinking this way, because I have so many things going on, and I have to really
but it's real.
On the
I
gas.
Think people appreciate you sharing this stuff.
But the when I think about that stuff, instead of pulling me away from what I'm doing, it actually pushes me to not push away the extracurricular events on top of things, right?
Yes.
And I've said in the beginning of the podcast, nothing really aligns time-wise. Nothing ever is perfect conditions, but you have to kind of like work through the rain and just enjoy it. Nothing is good or bad. It just is something that someone said. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. Like, say you popped your Achilles, right? Is it bad? Maybe. Yep. The next day, instead of going and playing basketball, you're in the office working. And while you're in the office working, you get a call and it changes your life because there's some opportunity, right?
Yeah.
If your calf was healthy, you'd be at the basketball court. So was it good or bad? It was probably good. So you can't really say something's good or bad because you don't know what the end result is, which I was like, wow, that's pretty deep.
That is deep.
Good, right?
Fire.
Yeah, it's good. This guy's good.
This guy's good.
So this guy, I follow Alex Ramosi. I haven't said it a lot on the podcast because it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, it's so good. I want to know all the tricks before everyone else. But it's so hard to implement what he says that it doesn't matter. But check him out. He's a young guy. He has a wife. He is on the track to be a billionaire. He's like 32 or something, and he's already super successful. But he's very cut or dry on just life, and he thinks that his philosophy is that everyone gives themselves too much credit and thinks there's a legacy and thinks you're going to leave some amazing thing to like your great grandkids, when in reality, in 3 generations, no one's going to remember you. So you got to do what you enjoy. And as you go through life, take care of the people you love, and then everything else is just like whatever. Nothing's great, nothing's bad. It just is. You could be happy, but you shouldn't be sad about situations, because that is why life is so why the good things are good or the bad things are bad, or the feelings you get from them. It's very interesting how he looks at things. And he's donating like all of his money when he's done. Wow. He's like, he looks at life as a poker table. And we're all playing, and when we're alive, we're at the poker table. And then, one day someone's just like, all right, you're done. And
you're all in.
Push the chips in the back.
And you're all in.
Yeah. So he's like, I enjoy it, and I want to do a lot of fun things, and I get to do a lot. But at the end of the day, I realize it all doesn't really matter. It's the game of it is fun. And yes, you want to be a part of the game. You don't want to check out from the game. But the guy's great. He's good. I listen to him all the time.
Just got the chills with that. When you push the poker chips.
It's good, right?
He pushed the poker chips all in.
His visuals are good.
And he came up short.
It's good.
For whatever reason at that time, right? You're all in, but now you're out. I got the chills. Jesus. Woo!
Yeah.
Spit it, Michael.
The one other thing that I want to mention so I don't forget is there's a investor. I'm listening to someone in the real estate world, and something I keep thinking about now is I'm realizing how long things take to do, and like a renovation of a house, how much stress it puts on the family, how much money it takes, how much time and attention. And the thought is like, I can't repeat this again. I have to do something maybe twice as big, because if there's this thing that I'm going to go after and I want to have this type of success, I need to keep taking steps and jumping up. So this guy who's a real estate investor said, I look at real estate and just life in general as dominoes. He goes, the science of dominoes is you could have a 1-inch domino that can knock over a 2-inch domino. And then once you get the 2-inch domino, you can knock over a 4-inch domino. And it keeps doubling. So he's like, as long as I can acknowledge that I only have a certain amount of dominoes in my life, but each domino is at least 2 times as big, I can knock it over. So his whole thought is like, yes, you can do the same thing over and over and be really good at it. But if you really want to progress and have exponential growth, if you have 5 dominoes and the first domino is 1, second's 2, third's 4, 8, 16, you just went from a 1-inch domino to a 16. So he's like, it's closer than we think. It's just hard to get there.
Yes.
Because each time you're adding a level, I was like, well, that's pretty good. It's good visual.
Heat.
It's good. These people are good.
It really is. Yeah.
YouTube.
Oh, it's crazy. You saw that clip on the educational piece where you said, YouTube replaces 90% of basically
Maybe
everything
more.
in the world. It could be more if you utilize it properly.
Yeah. You could watch nonsense, which I do.
Of course, but that's where people get screwed up, because instead of being intentional about YouTube for say 20 minutes a day, they allow themselves to go off on an interest tangent and like, oh, I want to go look at I don't know, whatever it is that your watches. I don't know, cigars maybe.
So I think about that stuff, right? And then I think about like my fitness journey, which I always try to link back to it, because this podcast has really made me be introspective about like how it fits into the game plan. And I'm realizing that like I need the energy, I need the stamina health-wise to stay in the game. Because if I get unhealthy, it's over.
Right.
No family, no money, nothing.
Yep.
You don't get to enjoy. So that's like been a realization of like, it's not only like the facade and the looks, it's actually the actual health of myself, right?
Yes.
Then I look at like the real estate world and all this stuff, and I'm also conscious of, mentally everything has a timestamp on it. So like mentally, there's only so much I can do and only so much energy I can give to it. But if I'm maximizing the health, then I'll be able to maximize my output, which then will help me manage my health, like it ping pongs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a recent journey of understanding that you have to kind of play the long game in every facet of life. You got to have that urgency on the day-to-day, but also have the 10-year, 20-year plan, because then the little day-to-day, yes, you're making progress, but doesn't really affect it enough to throw off the big plan.
Right.
I don't know if I explained that correctly.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. That Hermosi guy said that.
Yeah.
He's like he goes, I can understand if someone's going to be very successful by how quickly they get things done on a day-to-day and how long their game plan is long-term.
Mm. I want to pick your brain on something that I know you do extremely well. But I guess before we do that, CV, let them know where Dave Virginia gets their protein.
We wanted to take a quick second to let you guys know that we partnered with our good friends over at Orgain.com. We're happy to offer our listeners 30% off by entering the code NoSnooze30. Again, that's NoSnooze30 for 30% off your first order. If you're on the market for a new protein powder, nutritional shake, protein bar, or Mike's favorite, collagen peptides, Orgain is your one-stop shop. As all of you know, my Crohn's disease is currently in remission, and the only protein I use is from Orgain. My personal favorites are the chocolate peanut butter and the vanilla bean. With the code, you can try a 2-pound tub for under $20. Talk about not snoozing. Go get yours today. Now, back to the epi.
No, so Mike, I really want to talk to you about personal branding. right? I think it's something today that's more important than ever, even with, you know, the visual of social media, the power of social media. There's a lot of influence that you're able to attract with a good personal brand. So, you know, I think you've been able to do it extremely well. I know even from early on, you know, when we were speaking, I didn't really see myself as a personal brand for a long time, which is ironic because, you know, as I sat back now, I think there are certain things that, you know, we'll discuss that I was almost silly not to be.
Remember, I was like mad at you.
Right.
You're like, what do you mean? I'm like, what are you talking about? You're the most like brand-looking person I've ever met. Like,
but I was always associating it with something that I guess didn't really match what I believed to be a personal brand. And to me, like, personal branding is literally yourself. You're taking your skills, your knowledge, your experiences, and utilizing it as leverage to basically get involved in anything you choose to get involved in.
yeah.
Right? Like major corporations these days. I'll tell you about some experiences that I've had recently to where I'm getting paid for things that I have a skill set in from my full-time job.
Yep.
And now I've basically become an advisor to certain things that I never would have thought was the case. So I want you to elaborate on basically how you, I guess, and why you started a personal brand, you know, well before I did.
No, I just, well, I appreciate that. That's nice of you to say. You've always been like you've always marketed yourself as a brand. Like when people say your name, they think of something, right? Like The Room or whatever. A lot of it's reputation. Like when I started looking at it, I listened to a lot of Gary Vee like a while back, and he was one of the first people that kind of explained what I was thinking, and it made sense the way he talked about it. Rob Dyrdek was someone that I loved growing up, and I thought it was interesting how he did a lot of things. I had a very ADD approach to life, and I still do, where I want to do a lot of things. So I don't really fit into like a corporate world in a sense because I like to have my hands in a lot of things, and I like the control of it. So I started thinking about listening to Gary Vee, Rob Dyrdek. How can I create, you know, a personal brand where I always enjoyed branding for like businesses I created, but then I came to the realization of like, I really want to be able to do things just with my personality that I enjoy and open up doors by creating a reputation that these bigger brands or people want to be associated with. So when I came to that realization and I looked at real estate, I was like, wow, like the real estate world, that is all it is. It's just personal brand. Like, yes, you can be a part of a firm and all this, but at the end of the day, people deal with you because they like you, they like what you stand for, they trust you, whatever it is. So I always thought it was super interesting. So I think marketing and brand creation is the biggest delta on a skill. You can make the most money with that. For example, Kylie Jenner or whatever the hell her name is. She sold lip gloss. She made $1 billion because of her brand. Not because the lip gloss was great, because she was behind it.
Yes.
I mean, yes, you have to invest time, energy, money, whatever it is. But what other skill what other, like, you know, sales, you could do that. But if you have a brand, it helps. Brand helps everything.
Yes.
That's how I kind of think of it. And then even going a step further, like these buildings, when people flip them and stuff, it's just the marketing of it. Like, you know, Ray-Bans, you have glasses. It's the same as like the gas station stuff. They just have a brand. Nike, what is a swoosh? Have you ever seen it in life other than it's nothing? They made it up. The fact that you can just make shit up and then people are like, oh, because it has that thing on it, it's quadruple 4 or 5 times.
Yes.
So that when it all made sense and I'm like, nothing really matters, it's just how people perceive it is, then that is where you get the delta of like your return on time. For example, for you, like your cigar angle is very consistent. I mean, among other things, but the cigar thing I cling to because when I think of a cigar smoker, you're what all these guys want to look like when they smoke a cigar.
Stop it. Stop
You know
it.
what I'm saying, CV?
Stop it.
Like when a corporate guy, no, because I see these people and I see how like people act when they're in a cigar shop. And so I haven't spent a lot of time there, but I know when I drink a whiskey, I want to look like a mob boss, right?
Okay.
So when you do stuff, it's so that you can feel as if you are the ultimate person doing that activity.
Okay.
So when I see you and you're smoking a cigar, you got the tattoos, you got the nice watch, you know, you're very smooth, you have the beard. I'm like, this is a perfect brand that would align with a big cigar company. And a cigar company, the hardest thing for all these businesses is brand recognition and people being aware they're even around.
Right.
The 99% of real estate game is just people know that you sell real estate and that you do it well. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you need to be able to do it on the back end, but you'll never get to the back end if you don't do the front end.
Yes.
So when you realize that, you should really think to yourself, like, what do I enjoy, A? And then B, how can I make money from it, right? Maybe not in the beginning how I can make money, but A, what do I enjoy? And B, how can I be known for that thing?
I agree 100%. And that literally is that last thing that you just said is basically what made me believe, like, I don't have to do anything, right?
No.
When I sat back and
you have to be authentic.
Correct.
You have to do what you enjoy. Like if I go out and be like, oh, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. No, I'm just kidding. If I go out and be like, oh, I'm going to do, I'm going to endorse smoking cigarettes or whatever. Right. I don't know.
Yep.
No, everyone be like, oh, it doesn't make sense.
Yep. So for me, I'm an extremely confident person in life, right? But I'm also very assertive. So I took my confidence and assertiveness to basically say, okay, I am involved in many different avenues in what we do, right? Like my 2 paid expertises now. And I am going to use the word expertise because, it is, 10 years in the game. And I think I'm very different when it comes to municipal government, right? Like I know government now. I know the way local government works, but I'm also I guess it's inspirational and organizational leadership, right? I utilize the tools that I've learned and I've applied it with a team of 30 to 300, depending on the season. And those are the 2 things that I'm actually paid to do, right? So you have those 2 things. Then I have like my hobbies and interests, which could be the cigar game, right? But then also I have my experiences, which created an astronomical amount of knowledge when it comes to health and wellness because of my Crohn's disease, right? But besides the whole, wellness thing because of the Crohn's disease, right? I've also had to develop knowledge for Crohn's and colitis itself because it was a condition that I lived with for so long.
Yep.
Right. So now I actually have the ability to put myself in front of a group. And literally what I did is I joined the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Right. And I started with like a little donation and I had the intention, and that was a recurring donation because I'm like, you know what? I just want to set something up monthly. Did that about a year ago to where I'm getting my foot in the door and donating to something that directly affects me. Right. But then I'm like, why wouldn't I tie my expertise of inspirational leadership to something that I've been able to almost overcome and share that in a room full of people that are really struggling from this disease, right? So all these things are basically what started me to realize I'm silly for not branding myself, right? The next thing for us is like, we're fathers. We have experience now being a father while we're still trying to manage our lives.
See, I'm not a specialist in that.
No, hell no. No specialist necessary, though, when it comes to personal branding, I don't think.
No.
It depends, because people have built personal brands.
It's a good point.
Right?
You don't have to be a specialist. You just have to be going through something that people connect with.
Correct. And I will say, this podcast has given me the, I guess, the proof of us being like, you know what? We built this brand, right? So like, of course you can do whatever it is that you want to do. But there was, I think with a personal brand, it almost falls naturally when you're intentful about your own skills and interests, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think you made a good point where you don't have to be a specialist or a, what's the word? Someone credible. Like, I forget what the exact word is, but like, for example, you got to be like, if you're a brand, you got to be either entertaining or have a reputation where you are providing value of something that you've experienced that people can pull from.
Yes. Right.
When you start from a location of like what it worked for me, people can't argue that opinion, right? Like people are like, it worked for them. Or versus you should. If you say you should versus what worked for me, this is a Hermosi thing again. I love that guy. But basically, when you build your reputation from what works for you, your experiences, what you're going through, it's a lot less adversarial because people are always trying to figure out if it'll work for them.
Yes.
Versus like, oh, it worked for him, I'll try it. And if it doesn't work, that's fine because it was just something that worked for him. But yeah, you're kind of understanding now. I think you did already, and you did all the actions that you need to build a brand. You just didn't connect the dot yet, what you're doing now of I have all these things that I'm interested in and have experience with. How do they all connect?
Right.
And how can I maximize my value, my time, what I enjoy? How do I align everything where it's just feels easy?
Right.
Right. So like the suit thing that I've been trying to do, like you're saying, you got your foot in the door by not waiting for a handout. You start to get involved. So if you can, whatever you like in life, start to get involved in some facet. It doesn't have to be money all the time, volunteer, whatever.
No, of course. Volunteer work is more than money.
Yeah, you get your foot in the door, and then all of a sudden, hopefully in the future, Suit Supply's like, oh, this kid's great. There's no real downside. If he sends people, whatever, we wouldn't have had him anyway.
Yep.
And then they align with you. So, and who knows, nothing may come of it, but there's no downside.
Correct.
Because you enjoy it anyway.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
So the worst case scenario is great. Best case scenario is amazing. So it's like, why not?
Yes. And I think when there's no real expectation there, right?
Yes.
Like then it's a super win. But I do think the thing that's uncomfortable for people, and obviously we have cameras in our face consistently. You're on a microphone, you got shows, this, that. I'll be on in a room talking to 5 people or 500 people. So we get used to it. But you do have to have the ability to attract attention when it comes to your personal brand, right? Like if you can't do that, then it's going to be very hard for you to leverage what it is.
And there's different types of attention, right? Like
Correct.
if you are quiet and low spoken, but you tell people like, hey, like, we can hop on a call, and it's just a tagline, right? I've sold $8 billion in Greenwich real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a shit if this guy's like watching paint dry. I'm going to listen to him.
Right.
So there's different ways to grab the attention.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be in your face like us.
Yep.
Like with videos, and there's so many ways to do it.
But that's
a nice
that's
thing.
now, even for me personally, with the cigars, right? I struggled for a long time thinking like, what people are gonna think about it. It happened to be the complete opposite because everybody really liked it. They're like, yo, nice angle, nice watch. I'll get more likes on a cigar versus me putting out like intentional content about motivation.
But they're
Right?
they're living vicariously through you too.
But I get it. But also I struggled because I'm like, wait, does this really align with a fitness lifestyle? Does this really align with, what I'm doing? Does this really align with Crohn's and colitis? But the reality is, and what I've come to the conclusion of is, did that camera go off? Oh no. What I've come to that conclusion is, you know what? If people really take the time to understand my story and how I've been able to beat Crohn's disease and how long I've worked in the gym and how long I've, been my own nutritionist to get to enjoy a cigar a day if I want, now you really know me, right? But I had to get over that uncomfortable feeling of people being like, how could you smoke cigars and be in the gym?
It kind of works better because it's interesting.
You get what I'm saying?
Wait,
but
what?
now I could be like, yeah, well, this is how I did it.
Yeah.
So I struggled with that for a while.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this in the beginning too. Like, CV has his talents, his interests. You have your talents and interests, and I do as well. They're all different, right? So that's fine. But when you realize you're a one of one, then the comparison to other people, the competition with other people, that all stuff falls to the wayside because you're like, I'm doing my own thing. Yeah, this guy has this and that, but I don't even know if I'd like that.
Right.
So you're less worried about other things because you're so focused on figuring out what you enjoy and putting your energy into that versus trying to be like you could use an influencer to kind of base your ideas off of. But at some point, you're not the same person as whoever you're going. There's got to be a difference, right? Like, I've never met anyone like you. No offense, right? Like, have you ever met anyone like Dave?
What does that mean, though?
Have you ever met anyone like me?
No, because you're Mike.
But I haven't met anyone like Steve. Like, there's people that remind you of people, but there's always the nuance of them. That there's the difference. So when you realize that, a lot of people don't understand that. Like, you don't have to be like this guy. You just be yourself and be yourself better than someone else can be, and you're good.
Right.
Because no one can be as good as you.
Or have the ability to make other people want to watch you.
But here's the thing too, like no one, it doesn't matter as long as you have like a core group that connect with you. It doesn't matter if 90% don't.
Correct.
Our message goes out so far.
Yes, I agree. I'm good.
So the other thing I want to mention about building a brand is it's difficult because you have to keep reminding people who you are and not letting people impose on what they want you to be.
Tough.
For example, it's been super hard for me to tell people like, listen, no, I only sell in Greenwich, right? yes, I bend on that for like family stuff and other things. But that is something that people were like, oh, okay. I mean, if you could do that, like you get a negative response a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But because I've been doing that, now I believe it. And I'm like, that's all I do. And it's been easier for me to do. And because of that, when people reach out to me, the next time they reach out, it's for something that I do.
Mm.
So it's that nuance of so repetition's a big thing with brand. If you can be consistent and repeat what you're about and believe in what you're about,
Yes.
then everything kind of, you're in control of what's in your bin.
Right.
Versus, hey, can you do this something for me? And you don't say that back. And then all of a sudden I'm in Westchester running around like a madman and I miss out on all these opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it is imposing your own stubbornness and will to what you want to do, because there's a lot of shiny object syndrome.
Yes.
And there's a lot of distractions. And if you don't know what, it's a good idea to just sit down and write on a board, like, what am I about? Like, what do I enjoy? What, if gun in my head, what would I cut out if I didn't need to do it? And then you get like 3 or 4 things. You're like, oh, this is what I'll focus on.
Right. No. And my I guess final piece on that is you could literally be all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something for
I
me.
am.
Well, yes, but for me, I've said this before, in a respectful way, you've really brought that to my life in a positive light. Because, I was so focused on like, you got to maintain this image, you got to do this. Whereas I just explained my interest from Crohn's disease to cigars to municipal government to inspirational leadership to health and wellness to all of it, right?
Yeah.
But funny story how something happened in my life that isn't life changing by any means, but it's an opportunity that will probably benefit my family and I for years to come, because now I have this experience, right? So like you, I got a lot of stuff going on in my life, and I'm constantly to the point like I'm saying no now. I don't have the time for this. I can't do that. I respect what you're doing. I'm happy to jump on a call, guide you this way, but I just can't, be involved. So there's this one board and commission that I sit on, right? And it's in a local town, not the town that I work in. And basically they're like, hey, listen, I want you as a placeholder just until we can find a real board to represent what it is that we want. Can you do this for us? And I said yes, because I was like, you know what? This does align with my work. I could even put it on a resume that basically, I'm pretty much a founder of, this new group that's happening. So I do it. And there was no payment involved. Absolutely nothing, right? Then we get a little bit deeper. I'm like, oh, I like the conversations that are going on here, right? One conversation that we had was pretty extensive, and it was basically replacing like an open field and implementing a park, a park area that people can, really just leisure with and enjoy yourself. So I was on the planning process and the planning board to develop this park, right? Turns out, a year later, I'm still going through these meetings, and nothing is coming my way in terms of it's only my enjoyment. I'm utilizing now skills that I have from my full-time job just on this board, but I actually enjoyed this board.
But it probably benefits your full-time job too, right?
Correct, because now I have certain knowledge and I have
experience.
connections, networking that are outside my town that I'm in, right? So it was great for that, but I was content with that. Then literally something just comes across my desk, and somebody reached out, and this is a large company, a large organization that reaches out to somebody on that board, right? And they're like, hey, like, our headquarters is going to move into, XYZ town. Like, we're looking for certain amount of space, but, I want an area to where we have like, certain programs available to us, all this
connection with the local municipality.
Correct. Exactly.
Which a lot of
connection to local municipality
because
it benefits them.
And everything is easier when you know the local rules and what do you guys want? How can we help? Because they're bringing a ton of business. Right.
So the guy literally responds back, the guy that sits on the board, and he's like, hey, listen, I think this guy, Dave Regina, would be a perfect advisor to what you do. He spent a lot of time with us pro bono, kind of building this, but he's been very clear that, anything he moves into now has an expectation of obviously, developing some sort of financial gain from it, right?
Absolutely.
So then he writes back and he's like, well, listen, like I'm excited to connect with Dave, like the experience that you've just told me about XYZ. And he explained like the whole park process that we went through.
Perfect.
Yeah. He basically gave me the leverage because I decided to just do something that I was interested in anyway.
Yeah.
That it's going to come full circle to the point that this is now going to be an avenue for me to be making money and providing an analysis to local municipalities to see where they're currently at with their budget, how their programs and offerings are right now and what I would provide them as a suggestion for a 1 year and then a 3 year process. Consultant.
Yep.
Exactly.
Consultant's a great name.
But it's like that just fell in my lap.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just very early phase, very early. But I was like, this, oh, yes, it makes sense. Like, of course it makes sense. But I just did something out of my own gut that I was like, I enjoy it anyway.
So amazing point. Something you have to think about, which it kind of landed, but now it clicked, is you think to yourself, who am I valuable to? Right? That's a big question you got to ask yourself. Who needs my knowledge?
Yes.
Right? And then the big people that do, then it's like, all right, I'll reach out to a couple, you know? Again, no downside. Right. They say no, whatever.
Exactly.
But you took it a step further and put yourself in the path of those people. When you're in the path of these people, and you become a little undeniable, then there's no like competition. It's just, this is the guy. Because you're so specialized and dialed in that the guy that recommended you was like, you can't use anyone else. Like, this is the guy, you know? That's where your personal brand and reputation start to pay for itself. And it's so hard to see that. Like, a lot of people try to rush it, but it's like, as long as you're doing it and you're being true to what you're doing, things will start to fall into place. And if you can, I think you do a good job now and used to do in the past of saying no to things, because you said no to some other stuff that didn't interest you and take your time. You were able to do that opportunity, which then led to that.
Right. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying that this is a locked
whatever
and
it
done.
is. Yeah, whatever
it's
it
just
is.
something that just came across my desk.
Yeah, it's cool.
Off of something that I committed to over a year ago, and I was kind of like to the point. You know what? Yeah, there's no benefit here, but I'm enjoying these conversations anyway. Yeah. So like my point with personal branding is like you can't go wrong by taking your interest in a certain skill set that you have and diving in a little bit deeper outside of your maybe full-time job.
Yeah.
You know?
Think about it this way too. Something that I think about is like you got to keep it simple for people. Mm-hmm. If someone says, all right, what does Dave do? Can someone just say, can someone encompass what you want them to say to the friend?
Right.
You know, like a great customer is one that'll brag for you. Phenomenal ones that will brag to their friends or something. Right. Is a saying.
Yep. No, that's true. And that honestly is more like that's something that I'm working on, because I do believe that a lot of people get confused when it does come to me. Right.
Yeah.
But the things that I want to get to a place to where, you know.
But you need a tagline. You need like, you know, helping people navigate local government.
Right. Well,
something like where, yes, you do so much more, but the average person understands, oh, yeah, like local government is a pain in the ass.
Right.
Dave will help me navigate it.
Exactly.
So like when I was thinking about like what brand do I want, in my head I was like Mike Pirelli, Greenwich Real Estate. Mm-hmm. It's just my name,
yes,
and the location that I sell.
Correct.
Right? And keep it simple. So like, oh, you do follow me on Instagram, yeah, Mike Pirelli. And then every video, if you guys want to watch while I do it, I start the videos off, hi, I'm Mike Pirelli, Greenwich Real Estate agent. But I put it together, so then it's constantly.
Yes, and then it's in their brain. But because my avenues are so different, and there's so many different things, right? What I want to tie in, and somehow I have to, you know, figure this out. The two expertises though that I've developed like a track record with, right?
Yeah.
Local government.
Yep.
Experience in local government and inspirational leadership.
Okay. Yeah. So
you know what I mean? Like those two, because that also, this podcast for me is inspirational leadership. It's proven that we're able to influence through leadership. Also tied into my full-time job that I'm leading every day.
See, it's
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so it's funny. So in my lens, this is our record of our rise.
It is, correct.
So
documenting the rise.
But it's funny because you have a different lens, that's why personal brand is important. You have a lens for how it complements what you're doing. I have a lens for how it complements what I'm doing in my personal life. So it's both right, but it's different.
Yes, I agree.
So yeah, and people have different. Certain people know you for certain things, which is fine too, right? Like because the local government, people know you from that. Mm-hmm. People know you from No Snooze. At some point, they might crisscross, but if they don't, no problem.
Right?
Like you still have the personal brand out there. You know what I mean?
Dave Regina, No Snooze Podcast, inspirational leadership, local governor.
But at the end of the day, if you are whatever you do successful at it, it all doesn't matter because they'll say, "Oh, this is the guy you need to talk to," and they're like, "What does he do?" It's like you just got to talk to him.
Yes.
That also works.
Yes, absolutely. I'm good on that. You guys have anything else?
The last thing I'll say about brand and stuff is like if you can repeat certain taglines, if you can do certain colors, consistency, and kind of carving out a lane is super important. So like whatever it is, logo, you know, if you can attach something, if you can take care of the visual and maybe the sound or a saying or something catchy, it always, like No Snooze is a very distinct feeling, you evoke emotion.
Yep.
That's like the next level. The action's great, and then you got to put something that connects emotionally to people.
Yes.
So if it's a logo, if it's a saying you do, if it's a tagline, something that people can when people recite it back to you, like when people yell no snooze as, it means it's working.
Yes, correct. And I just want to be clear. So, you know, obviously we could sit here and talk about No Snooze Podcast, which is what we do all the time. So I wanted to be specific, and I was very intentional about talking about personal branding because not everybody is fortunate to have a team right away like we do.
Yeah.
Right. So it's almost hard. And we just spoke about it on episode 100, how we kind of got together. But my point in doing this topic was more so that everybody in the world can have a personal brand. You start with yourself and your interests and a little bit of your skill set. You're right there.
So and people, I know I'm realizing, and I think like 90% of people don't want to be entrepreneurs, which is fine, and like do their own thing. So even if you're in a big corporate environment, if you can carve out a niche of like, oh, if you need something that relates to Excel, like they are a wizard at Excel. And then you think if there's a big project that they need an Excel wizard, they're going to come to you. Like if you could just knock it out of the park, something that people know you for, be great at something, then it helps. You don't have to be like anything. You know what I mean?
I like it. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying?
I like it. CV, you good? Yeah. All right. So this will bring us to my favorite section, Dave's Dime of the Week.
Dimes. 10%, baby.
I'm going to kick the leg up here since it's, oh, you can't even see, huh? Since it's driver season in New York, I have, no socks. I don't know if I just forgot my socks.
No snooze, no socks, no shoes.
Or I'm just rocking it. So today's dime is brought to you by the one and only Gary Vaynerchuk, a.k.a. Gary V.
I got cold on him for a little bit.
And it's more of a thought, right? But it was something that I was listening to that when I'm like, oh, damn, I need to save this for something, this is the reason why I've saved it.
There you go.
And it's not a short quote either, so get ready. Brace yourself. It's important to build a personal brand because it's the only thing you're going to have. Your reputation online and in the new business world is pretty much the game. So you've got to be a good person. You can't hide anything. And more importantly, you've got to be out there at some level. Right? And a lot of people, when it comes to the personal brand, like I was saying before, you struggle with almost putting yourself out there because you're like, does this align? Does this, You got to just go on it, though, and put yourself out there. I mean, if you're doing drugs in the closet, you probably shouldn't post that, right? But
if that's your truth.
But, well, there you go. Maybe you could be an influencer for drugs in the closet. There you go.
And they don't need influencers.
You're right. So there's really no bad way of doing things, but the certain realizations that if you do want the opportunity to, even make some extra money for your skill set, you got to put yourself out there and find that lane that Mike is talking about. Because Mike, I wanted to talk to him about it specifically because he's done an extremely, extremely good job of building, his own personal brand. So that's why I wanted to pick your brain on this. I think it was a great conversation, as always. So if you haven't already done so, Michael.
Like, subscribe, follow. Throw a comment in there, maybe.
Right?
What are we waiting for?
A couple new orders came in. I saw that. NoSnoozeShop.com for some nice shorts. I'm not going to lie. They have become my favorite shorts. At first, I was a little shaky about them. You knew I was.
Yes, you were.
Right? I didn't like the white on the inside. But they have a nice little stretch to them.
Good for squatting?
Oh, they're perfect for squatting.
Can you get as deep as I get?
I don't know. You might have me.
Might rip them?
Yeah. But listen, I know CV and I are still in very good terms when it comes to this bet. My hesitation is to bring Ambrose on next week because he's going to give Michael some tools. But we will bring you a box of donuts next week.
The only tool I could use is lop off a leg to lose the fat.
Lop off a leg. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're extremely grateful for every single one of you guys. So until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
Go eat that donut, Michael.
That's a good tagline, too. That's a good brand right there. Get up and get after it. That's another Effie in the books. Go follow us on Instagram and Facebook at No Snooze Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze.